Hey there. I want to talk to you about really kind of a sobering fact, which is that even though we all want to change and want to establish a bunch of new habits, the reality is about 70% of attempts to change actually end in failure. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. That's just a reality. 70% of attempts to change fail, and for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's a just our general resistance to change, or we don't have good systems or processes in place to support us. Maybe we don't have any sort of support or resources to kind of boost up that change. Sometimes it's just the timing. It's not the right time for us to be implementing a change. And there's a bunch of other reasons that might lead us to fail in our attempts to change. And so we end up getting frustrated. We kind of drop that attempt and we just give up. Um, the reality is if we're trying to either stop a bad behavior, stop a bad habit or create a new or better habit, if we're not properly prepared for the shifts in our attitude, the shifts in our actions that we need to take, uh, then chances are we're going to have that pain of failure. We're going to have those roadblocks that get in our way. We're not going to be able to overcome the difficulties, and we're not going to have the results that we want. Now, the key, however, is to be aware of this and then be ready when they come. Be ready for the things that might get in our way and be ready to overcome them. So, what I want to share with you today are some tips to help you stay in that top 30%, not the 70%, the 30%, and make sure that your changes stick. I'm Dr. Denise Dennis. I'm the CEO and founder of Action Accelerated. Our goal is to help you reach optimal performance in your life and business. So let's talk about these ways we can make sure that our changes, those new habits, actually stick. The first thing we want to do is to make micro changes. Micro, not macro, not huge, not wide sweeping changes. We want to make micro changes. Uh, Typically, particularly in January, when everybody's making those New Year's resolutions and they're going to change everything in their life, uh, those gigantic goals or this gigantic change that we're saying that we want to make is sometimes so overwhelming that it also leads to just an avalanche of problems because there's so many different things we're trying to keep track of and change and adjust to. It makes much more sense to shrink that down into a micro change by making changes that we call micro habits, the small changes that we can make that will make a difference. So rather than all of a sudden deciding, oh, well, I'm going to read 100 books this year and I'm going to earn this, this much money and I'm going to do this and do this. Not that we can't set those goals, but if it requires making massive changes, then maybe we want to narrow that down to rather than saying, I'm going to read 100 books this year, how about I'm going to start off with reading a page a day of a book? If you're going from zero, a page a day is going to give you some pretty good progress. If you're already reading a page a day, then bump it up to something more. But again, we want to make those micro changes, micro habits, because that is what's going to stick. And then, of course, once we get that, we can add on to it. The second tip is I want you, along those same lines, to celebrate the small wins. Don't wait until you reach that big change that you're going for. Instead, we want to celebrate those gradual steps. So let's say you're a newer entrepreneur and your goal is to reach that $10,000 a month revenue that is sort of that holy grail for newer entrepreneurs. You want to earn that $10,000 a month. Well, here's what I want you to do. Don't wait until you earn $10,000 a month to start celebrating. If you're not earning any money right now, then as soon as you earn $1, you better celebrate because that's an advancement. Once you've earned $1, as soon as you earn $10, you're going to celebrate. When you got $10, When you earn 100, you want to celebrate. Every time you add a zero, I want you to celebrate, because it's those small wins, it's those incremental wins that you take time to celebrate that's going to keep you going. It's going to keep you motivated. Again, if you're just waiting until you finally accomplish that final goal before you celebrate, you might quickly start losing that motivation. So make sure you build that in. The third thing I want you to focus on, I want you to remember, is that you need to plan to fail. And I did I'll say that properly. You know, when people say, well, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. And I don't mean it that way. I mean, plan on the fact that you are probably going to fail at first sometimes. So we are not striving for perfection. You want to strive for what we call imperfect action. You want to start making progress toward that goal, recognizing there's going to be times that you fall off. There's going to be times when, although you said you're going to eat healthy, your husband brings home pizza and you have a slice of pizza. It's not the end of the world. The world is not going to come crashing down because of one stumble. Maybe you said that you were going to call, do some networking, make 5 calls every single day. Well, maybe for one day, you didn't feel like making calls. You didn't make those calls. The world is not going to end. You had a bad day. You failed to reach your goal that particular day, but that just means you brush yourself off and you keep on going the next day. Bottom line, what I don't want you to do is think that a temporary failure means that you have failed overall. It just means it's a temporary stumble and you keep on going. And then finally, the last thing I want you to keep in mind is that I want you to actually get amnesia. Meaning, often when I'm talking to people, talking to clients who are working on overcoming and establishing new habits, what people are quick to say is, well, I know this is not going to work because I tried doing this last year and it didn't work then. So I'm sure it's not going to work now. Well, you know what? That's not true. That's not true. Forget that. Forget what happened last year. Forget what happened the last time you tried this. And I mean, forget it in terms of forget that negative feeling you have about it. If there were some lessons you need to learn from that, then learn those lessons and make note of those lessons. But don't presume that because past attempts didn't work, that means at this particular time it's going to turn out the same way. Let that go and recognize that this is a new opportunity to emerge as a better version of you, actually committing to those changes, committing to those new habits that you have set for yourself. All right, so just in summary, although most attempts at change actually do fail, it's because there's not a foundation in place. So you can be part of that 30% that's successful if you take some of these tips in mind, if you prepare for that change, if you set the foundation for that change, and be mindful of the fact that your desire to change is going to help move you forward and increase your success rate. Now, if you'd like more tips on how to create new habits and create new habits that are going to stick, then I want to invite you to download my free guide called Habit Hacks. And to access it, go to bit.ly/habit hacks. That is all caps. Make sure Habit Hacks is all in caps to download your guide. Again, I'm Dr. Denise Dennis with Action Accelerated. Thank you so much for your time and attention.